Hey,
Hey,
Hilbert.
Hill Bays.
Welcome, welcome. We are back.
We are. Welcome to Healing Uncut.
Okay, first, can we get into these shirts? Because I got
Yes.
a little bit.
Look,
But I'm loving the heel pretty. I'm loving the heel and love. Like,
yes. That's what it's all about. Representing our brands today.
yes.
Shout out to art therapy, trying to help heal, trying to
Girl.
express through the arts. That's what it's definitely all about.
Woo, Express. Speaking of Express, how are you feeling
Mhm.
today? Check in. How are you feeling?
Yes, check it. Okay, so today I looked at the wheel a minute ago. So I am really feeling kind of rushed. I'm
Hmm.
not quite overwhelmed yet. I think right now there's a lot of moving parts, a
Mm,
lot of things that I have my hand in, to where I'm not quite stressed so thin. Um, since I have the time to get these things done, but just trying to stay on top of it, because trying to be like a content creator, a
yeah.
mom, trying to live healthy, like all those things, like trying to build a brand and study for my exams and things. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of feeling rushed. I feel like I need to be producing more, putting out more.
Yeah.
So I just, like I said, I'm not quite overwhelmed. It's probably because, like I don't have the restrictions on my time as far as having to be like at work or whatever. But I definitely feel rushed. So I'm like having to remind myself, just to take my time. Like, it's gonna get done. It's not really a race. Even though I would love to have all of this stuff already figured out. But yeah, so that's pretty much that's where I'm at today. What about you? How you feeling today?
I am sad.
Yeah.
Sad, yeah. And so today's Wednesday. We talked earlier in the week, and I'm just like, like I need some encouragement. I'm not, and so like you, I'm like, I want to put this content out. I want
Hmm.
to do. I feel like I should be doing more. I feel like I should be doing more, and like feeling I should be further along. And then on top of that, I'm like, I'm still, very much grieving the loss of my dad. And
Hmm.
that it comes at the weirdest times. Y'all see my man over there.
Shout out to Dad. Look, and Carla in the back.
And it hits me at the weirdest times. And so it's like when I'm, when I start, I don't know, I feel like everything kind of just compiles together. So it's just like, I'm not doing enough. I'm sad. I'm out here on the
Mhm.
West Coast. I'm lonely. Like, where are my friends? And not to say that my husband isn't present, but it's just not the same. Like,
Mhm.
he's not like you. He's not my girlfriends. He's not like those cousins you grew up with. Like, of course we talk, we
Right.
cuddle, like, but it's I'm like, no, I'm missing my girlfriends. Like,
Mhm.
I need a girls' day. So I'm just kind of sad, and I'm trying not to um let it become overwhelming, like you said, like give myself grace, like, you know, you are making
Mhm.
progress, you are making reels. It may not be as much as you want to in this moment, but it'll get better, it'll come easier, just like consistency is key. And then yeah, so I didn't sleep well last night, and I'm kind of just feeling like all over the place. But I think to the overarching thing is just like, yeah, I'm just kind of saddened in my feelings for real.
Yeah. And look, that's valid. Definitely. It's definitely an adjustment, especially when you get married and moving. Because I went through something very similar. Like you definitely need your girlfriend.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you move away, especially if we're so used to being together, like in college, like always being together.
Home.
So so that transition to like not being with them, it's hard. And making new friends at this age is not the easiest.
Girl. No. That's like a whole nother story because where did this social anxiety come from? Like, I don't want to people. I don't want to people. And I'm like, yo, you have to network. You gotta,
Hmm.
but it's just like, now, if I could be honest, that is like something I really got to pray about because that's really a fear. I'm like, people are evil and
Mm,
you don't know if they're what their intentions are. And it's just
yeah,
like, I don't know. I could be just overthinking it, like, just go out, have a good time. But you don't want to just befriend anybody or
right.
so yeah, at this grown age, social anxiety is a real thing for me. It's
Listen,
like,
I feel like everything that's been going on around the world, I promise when I'm out or I'm looking at everybody, I'm like, I'm like, I've been through trauma. I don't trust people like that. Especially now, I'm like, what you doing over there? I'm for real. I don't care whatever store I'm in. I'm looking. There's people being weird. I'm like, okay, because I need to know, like, what you got on your mind when you decided it's the time. Mm-mm. So yeah, it's a lot out here. It's a lot of emotions.
it
But
is.
you showed up. Look, we both showed up. So we can definitely pat ourselves on the back. Look, one day at a time. We
One
made it.
that
But oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say, I think that's something huge for me to still show up. Like, although I'm feeling like this, there was a time where I would just stay in the bed,
Mm,
just like, I'm sad, I'm feeling this, or I'm feeling real anxious about the work, so I'm going to avoid it. And
mm,
I'm going to curl up in a ball and pretend like it doesn't exist.
right.
And I think I'm like, yo, this is huge. Like, to be at a point where I'm like, okay, this is how I feel. I'm able to accept it and I'm still able to show up. So
Hmm. That's major growth.
that's growth.
That's major. I feel like only growth that you'll be able to get to, but once you start healing, it's just not gonna come. You
Not
know, if you're not working on it or educate yourself on the reason. Because at first, it definitely sounded like some negative coping skills, which
oh
kind of brings us to our point of
yeah,
today.
that brings us back. Is trauma
Hmm.
the gateway drug? Is
Right? Is it?
and
I
I'm saying
definitely say yes. I think we said it the same.
yes.
Yes, absolutely, yes, absolutely. Like
I'm like,
trauma.
start her off on the side. I'm like, girl,
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, then you've probably been through trauma or know about it. But trauma is basically the consequence of a distressing event. So something that you've experienced that really just totally changed you. And it changes our brain. I don't think people really realize that. Like it really affects you. Like it lives rent free in your brain. It's not something that you could turn on and off. It's really just something that just lives there and it affects your daily functioning, like your executive functioning. So being able to um control like your behaviors and your emotions, just feeling safe. Like I was talking about in the store, like me looking around trying to see people being weird. Like your sense of safety, like it throws it off. Like you aren't really kind of, able to gauge it. And then, regulating your emotions. So being quick to react or shutting down, like you were saying, like, or navigating healthy relationships. So it definitely affects, how you interact with, your partners, your friends, your family. And then if you're a parent, your children. I definitely made a post about that. Like it definitely affects any relationship. It doesn't it or your workplace, how you show up there. And so, when it comes to like coping, it can either be a positive, or a negative way to cope. So basically, it's something that you do, in the moment to make you feel better. So the negative ones, they'll kind of give you some instant relief or gratification, but they're harmful in the long run, as
Right.
opposed to the healthier ones. It may take a little while for you to catch on that you feel better. But in the long run, they're ultimately going to be, more healthier for you. So we definitely want to try to choose healthy coping mechanisms. And too much of a good thing is bad too. That's want to throw that out there. So,
I think because we're so used to having things at our fingertips, that instant gratification makes the negative coping seem like it is positive. Or,
hmm
I mean, honestly, it may not be positive because drinking, drugs, violence,
sex.
like if you are like anything that's like risky. So think about this. If your trauma caused you to get like an adrenaline rush, which is, that's that flight or flight, right?
hmm
So now your body has become used to that. Now you're like doing things that's going to stimulate your adrenaline again because that's
Right,
what you like. Or it's the opposite where you're trying to numb it completely.
right.
You're like, I don't want to feel that. And when I do feel that, let me get a cigarette, let me grab a blunt, let me
Yeah.
pop this bottle because
hmm
I'm trying to numb it. And so
Right,
trauma is, you can't, not that you can't, but you find it very difficult to regulate your emotions.
right.
And you're going to look for it in other avenues.
hmm
So with that instant gratification, I think that's why I say it is the gateway drug because that's what those negative coping skills do. They will give you that instant gratification. But like you said, in the long run, it's not
hmm
going to be healthy. That's not going
Right.
to be
Yeah, and they only last but for so long. So it may start off as like, oh man, I'm stressed today, work stressed me out, my kids stressed me out, I'm gonna have me a glass of wine. That might turn into a bottle real quick. You know what I'm saying? And then you're like, oh, now that bottle doesn't even do nothing for me. So now I'm gonna have a bottle and a beer, or I'm like, so you kind of add on to it, or have to find something else to replace it, all simply because like you're trying to suppress those painful emotions. Like you don't really know how to, manage those emotions, and you don't want to feel. So it's basically you trying to find something to replace that feeling.
Yeah.
But you have some examples of some negative ones just for the people, just in case.
Yeah. For me, drinking. Drinking.
Mm,
So definitely like, and it's not like I became an alcoholic,
right.
right?
According to who? Right.
Yes. And the crazy thing, like, I would justify it like, oh, okay, teaching stresses you out. It stresses you out. Them kids are crazy.
hmm
So by the time I get home, I'm like, oh, it's happy hour. Of course I can have a drink. Like
hmm It's
it,
like I need this.
and so like you said, like it didn't just start out with like, it may have started with a glass of wine, but then it got to a point where, well, as soon as I get home, like right before I walk Bella, I'm gonna take a shot. Shot.
hmm
I'm gonna go walk Bella, and then when I come back in the house, then I'm gonna have my glass of wine. Like,
hmm
and then that's probably gonna be 2 or 3 glasses of wine, depending on how the night goes. And
Right.
it got to a point where it's like, if I don't have my wine, I'm probably not gonna sleep well.
Mm.
And that dependency, becoming dependent on because the alcohol, you know, immediately you can feel it. Like you take a shot, you just like, oh, thank you.
Mm.
Like how I'm like, thank you, Lord.
That's how I'd be like, thank you, Lord.
Oh, I'm like, thank you for this tequila because, and then, when I got in therapy and they're like, oh, try these breathing exercises, try to meditate. it was so
Mm.
hard for me to do that on my own. I
Oh
got
yeah.
so used to, I'm like, no, if I want to shut my mind down, I'll just get a drink, you know.
Hmm.
What's wrong with a drink? Like, I drink my water, I eat my fruits and vegetables. Like, when I tell you I was justifying,
Yeah.
like, really bargaining with my therapist, like, yeah, I really don't think it's that bad. And she was like, okay, so it's not that bad. However, when you're trying the positive coping, you are struggling with it and you immediately want to go back to
Hmm.
the negative coping. So,
Right.
though although you may feel like, no, you know, I'm still a healthy person, you know, I still get my miles in, like I could do this, that, and the third, whatever. She was like, you are developing a dependency on it.
Yeah.
If you're relying on alcohol to shut your brain down instead of you learning how to do it yourself, it is
Hmm.
a dependency, it is becoming negative. And so that's when I had to, like, you know, take a step back. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a glass of wine, but, or, you know, a shot after work, like enjoy your happy hour, but you have to know the difference between,
Hmm.
like, can am I regulating this or am I looking for something else to help me regulate it? Like,
Right.
be truthful with yourself about where you are in the process.
Hmm.
And I think that's going to make the, you know, the biggest difference.
Right. And just, am I in control, or is this substance, or whatever the case is this controlling me? You know what I mean? So if I take it away, how do I feel? Am I anxious? Am I angry? Like,
Yeah.
am I like panicking? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so just some things to kind of think about. Um, as you, sis, talking to you, sis, as you think about, how you cope with the day-to-day stressors. But yeah, with the positive ones, like Chrissy said, breathing exercises, journaling. For me, art. I talk about that a lot online. Like, I like to craft. It could be exercise. That's something I've been, trying to do, get some miles in. It actually does help. You know, it doesn't feel like it in the moment, but a few days pass, you're like, like, I've been actually pretty calm.
Mhm.
So it takes some time. It takes time to even implement them, because journaling, it took me a while. And I had mad journals. I'll keep mine journals, keep mine pens, and I ain't wrote in neither and none of them. So it
Not
takes
me.
a while, not now one of them. And so it takes a while to implement those positive ones and to make it a routine, to where it's automatic. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. So don't feel bad if you aren't there. It won't happen overnight. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you that right now before you stress yourself out. It's
Hello.
gonna take a while. Just practice. That's the only thing I can say. You have to practice. If you don't, then you'll never get to the point to where it's normal, or it feels good to you. Just just keep practicing. And you're gonna mess up. So give yourself grace. So that's honestly, that's like the biggest thing that'll help you on the journey. Give yourself grace. The same grace you give your kids, your coworkers, your parents, your spouse, your friends. Like, you deserve even more grace than that.
Yeah.
Like, that is definitely gonna get you through, for real. But it's definitely time for some heel tales
Ooh.
on coping. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You go first.
Ooh, okay. So for me, so like, intimacy has always been scary for me. Like,
Mhm.
getting close to people, like, I just didn't trust people. Our my relationships with people were definitely surface level. Didn't really get too deep, especially when it came to men.
Right.
So like, going through high school, I mean, I had a boyfriend and whatnot. But like, got to college, I never really dated, and it wasn't that I couldn't date. You know what I'm saying? I have a problem getting a man. I was scared. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was seriously scared. It just brought me so much anxiety to even think about, like, I'm gonna have to eat in front of them. I'm gonna have to do this. Like, what I'm gonna say. Just so like, I never really had like a real close relationship with men,
Okay.
and I just felt like, like, when I would, it would be like, oh, okay, like, I'm only gonna hit you up when it's time, when I want something, you know, and then once that is done, I'm out and I probably won't hit you up again until the next time. Like, and I was cool with that. Like, I didn't see no problem with it. I mean, you know, like some people might say, like, oh, that's like a man eater or you this and that. And I'm like, honestly, nobody ever told me that. So, I mean, I thought it was cool. Like, I didn't see a problem, you
Yeah.
know, but I didn't realize that that was really me, like trying to protect myself, you know, from being hurt. Like I struggled with being vulnerable. Just the feeling of being vulnerable just gave me so much anxiety. So I'm going to avoid it. So just avoiding issues is definitely like a negative coping mechanism, you know, and being vulnerable is hard. It's scary. Since I've been on the healing journey, I definitely have been getting more comfortable, but it's still scary. And honestly, the only thing that helped that made me recognize that it was a problem was this one person told me, he was just like, you act just like a nigga. He was like, you just don't have no emotions.
Mm,
Girl, my heart sank. So I felt so bad. And I'm like, nobody's ever told me that. Like, everybody just let me do what I wanted to do and it was cool. So when he told me that, I felt so bad.
wow.
Like, I'm like, oh, I gotta be celibate because that hurt me. It really made me think, like, oh, I need to get myself together. Like, I'm not thinking about the other people that's involved. Like, yeah, they might be on the same thing that I'm on, but at the end of the day, like, I'm like, nah, you know, so, you know, that was just something that kind of happened. And then, yeah, then next thing you know, boom, I tried to be vulnerable, open, then trauma bond, 10 years in that. That's a whole nother story. So I tried, but it ain't work out like I thought it was.
Mhm.
But, you know, I did say, okay, next person that I actually am intimate with in that way, like it'll be somebody I actually like and it'll be my boyfriend. And I mean, I went like 3 months and then I met my ex-husband. So it was just like, I did try.
Yeah.
Um, it just didn't work out as planned because, you know, I hadn't been through an actual healing process. I just stopped having sex and was just like, I ain't really entertaining nobody right now. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really do no work.
Yeah.
So yeah, trauma bond happened after that. So that was pretty much mine. Like I just really just had an issue of avoiding and I'm still kind of there, but a lot better than where I was.
That that makes me think of my husband who told me he was like, you operate in masculine energy. And I was just like, boy, F you.
Look, being masculine,
Like,
proving it.
and proved it. Okay, girl. Like I said, well, if I'm operating in masculine, then you operate in feminine energy. And what is it?
Because I definitely I didn't say that plenty of times. Yo, bitch.
So um when we first okay, quick little context, we were long distance. And
Hmm.
so we did not live together until after we were married. That
Hmm.
first month was crazy. And um and he was just like, he was like, I think you want to be vulnerable, but you're not. Like, you're
Hmm.
honestly not. And I was just like, I had to take a step back and really just kind of sit, like, you know, why, why does he, is it truth to what he's saying? Am I operating in masculine energy? Like, why don't I want to be vulnerable? Like, why are these walls still up? Like, we done said I do.
Hmm.
And honestly, it's still that, just being in somebody's space brought on different anxieties, just like you
Hmm.
said. So I think, I just really think like there's a part where there's a part in the healing journey where you're like, no, I've done the work. Like, I
Hmm.
or I started the work and I've been doing this, I've been very intentional, and your partner is still going to bring things up, or they're going to be like a mirror for you, and
Mm,
they're going to show you like, yeah, these are growth areas. And
mhm.
so my thing is feel in love because
Right, I was about to say, as long as it's coming from a place of love.
is that's a huge difference when it's coming from a place of love and it's somebody that you actually trust.
Hmm.
They give you that space to work on it and work through it. Then that's where you know, like, okay, I've made some growth. Like I did come a long way. Like I truly came a long way. However, it's but it's like, okay, let my just from being, we're newlyweds and being in this relationship is like, let me not be so quick to pop off when I'm
Hmm.
offended,
Mm.
because for him to tell me, it's like it is something that's bothering him, and I have to trust that it is coming from a place of love. And so
Right.
the fact that he was open enough to share it with me, I need to, kind of really
Hmm.
reflect and go through it, and then, kind of check myself in those areas. I don't know. I probably just went off on a tangent, but
I mean, look, that's weird to talk about it. Yeah, but let's talk about it. So it's cool. Look, it's our thing. We can talk about whatever we want.
yeah, that vulnerability piece, that was a huge hurdle for me. And it's actually something
Hmm.
that I'm still working through
Hmm.
because, just from, childhood trauma, if you are hurt by your caregiver, your guardian, your
Mm.
parents, and that's supposed to be the person, you know, who you're supposed to lean on, but they're the ones
Right.
who hurt you, of course you're gonna have that may show up in, other
Yeah.
relationships, especially with your significant other. So
Mhm. Like, I don't trust nobody. Like, I'm scared to trust you. Like,
so
that's scary.
wow, like
Hmm.
it's like, wow, I'm like, oh, I'm still dealing with this. Like, I
Hmm.
thought I got over it, but here you are, my spouse holding up a mirror showing me like, yeah, I think there's still some other things that you got to work through and heal with. But um,
Right.
I'm willing to do it, and I'm grateful that he's able to give me that space to do it. But it's
Right.
so, just doing reading and research, it's just like, yeah, if he's been hurt by a parent or caregiver,
Hmm.
you may have trouble with those intimate relationships and being
Hmm.
vulnerable to that person when somebody
Right.
so close hurt you.
No, that's real. I feel like we definitely have to have a whole nother
That's
series on episode on that. Like, it's definitely. But I do feel like, we try to be in control of our environment, and that's something that I had to learn how to not be in control. I felt more safe being in control, like knowing what was going to happen next, like knowing who was in my space, what was going down in my space. So kind of letting go of control is like you learn that as you go through the process, and it's scary.
mm,
And again, that's where the negative coping skills come in, because
right.
it's like, oh, I don't want to feel that. Like I don't know what to do. I'm anxious now because I'm not in control and I don't know what's going to happen next. Like you said, because as a kid, going through childhood trauma and you not knowing what's going to happen next, it definitely takes a toll on you. And that anxiety kind of stays with you until you do the work.
Hmm. So
But yeah,
let's recap, you know, trauma. It truly is the gateway drug.
facts.
When you're looking for that instant gratification, it's more likely that you're going to lean towards things that will give you instant positive feelings, or
Mhm.
it will instantly numb it. And so we just encourage you to, you know, stick with it, stick with the positive coping, put it into practice, be consistent.
Mhm.
You know, it is, when we say it's a journey, it's a journey. It's not going to happen
Mhm.
overnight. It's definitely not going to happen overnight.
Right. Give
And
yourself grace.
definitely give yourself grace. And one thing I want to leave you with before we part, um, you know, what would Jesus do?
What
I
would you do?
listen, Psalms 27, it says, 27 and 13 says, I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. And so to me, that just means like, you know who God is, you know you're his child, you are heir to the throne. He wants the best for you, but it doesn't mean it's going to be instant.
Mm,
Confident in yourself, be confident in the process, give yourself grace, be patient, and you will
mm,
get
right. Amen. Like, wait, that's really good. I love that. Oh, I love y'all. This is
through.
awesome.
Love y'all.
Enjoy. We'll be back soon. If you have anything, any comments, definitely send us a message. Don't forget to go to Instagram and hit the link in the bio to send us one of your heel tales or a question or comment about today's episode. Until then,
I'm Chrissy.
happy healing. Oh, and I'm Dream. See y'all later.